Okay, so you want to run the first Ponzi scheme. Not a Ponzi scheme. The first one, in the summer of 1920, back when the oldest trick in finance doesn't have a name yet. It's Boston, and you are the most popular man in New England. In 8 months, you've taken in $9,582,000, about $150 million in today's money, from something like 20,000 people without selling a single share of stock, a single bond, a single anything. People hand you your savings, you hand them a slip of paper, and by July, they're bringing you $1 million a week. You started in December with $150. 7 months later, you have a mansion, a chauffeured limousine, and a controlling interest in the bank that holds your deposits. And the whole machine runs on one rule. You never sell anything, you only ever pay. No pitch, no product, no pressure. Your entire business from the sidewalk is the sight of ordinary people walking out of your office with more money than they walked in with. And it all started with a letter from Spain. The letter lands on your desk in August 1919, and pinned to the corner is a small printed coupon bought at a post office in Spain for 30 centavos. It's called an international return coupon, a way of prepaying return postage across borders so a stranger writing from Madrid can cover your stamp. 60-odd countries signed a treaty before the war agreeing that this little slip converts at any post office on Earth into 1 letter's postage. In America, that's a 5-cent stamp. And that treaty has a crack in it. The conversion rates were set when every currency was pegged to gold. Then the war happened and Europe's currencies collapsed, while the coupon rates stayed frozen at their pre-war values. The math takes you 5 minutes on a scratchpad. The Spanish peseta is trading at 15 cents instead of its old 20, so 1 American dollar buys 6 2/3 pesetas, 666 centavos, which buys 22 of these coupons. Bring them home, swap them for 5-cent stamps, and your dollar is now $1.10 of American postage, 10% for moving paper across an ocean. Then you check the currencies that fell harder. The Italian lira is down to a nickel. Run the same dollar through Rome, and it comes back as $3.30 of stamps, 230% gross. So you test it. 3 letters, 1 to Spain, 1 to France, and 1 to Italy with a dollar bill folded inside each, asking the recipient to convert it into coupons and mail them back. The coupons come back. The Boston Post Office confirms it will redeem them, proving the entire theory has cost you less than $4, the price of 200 of the 2-cent stamps this empire is technically built on. And none of it is against the law. The treaty binds the governments, not you. They have to sell and they have to redeem. You've found a machine guaranteed by 60 governments that turns $1 into 3, and the only thing you don't have is the dollar. Nobody will lend you real money. You've tried. So you decide to borrow small from everybody, and for that, you need a company. You register one at Boston City Hall. The form wants partners' names, so you write in your uncle by marriage, who has no idea, and a man you knew in Italy who you're fairly certain is dead. Founding costs of the enterprise, about 3 1/3 packs of cigarettes. The stationery costs more than the company. You cover it by talking the furniture dealer who came to repossess your desks into taking a $200 promissory note instead, then walking him through the coupon math until he leaves a believer. The letterhead reads, The Securities Exchange Company, room 227, 27th Street, Boston, and the Securities Exchange Company is nothing but you, Charles Ponzi. The product is 1 piece of paper. Hand the company exactly $100 today, and 90 days from now, it pays you exactly $150 at the office or at any bank. 50% in writing. Your first prospect hears the whole coupon pitch and doesn't invest. Can't afford it, he says. So on pure impulse, you offer him a job instead. Explain the proposition to his friends and keep 10% of whatever they put in. He takes it, and not improvised commission becomes your entire sales force. Agents on 10%, recruiting sub-agents, no credentials required because the pitch was never really the coupons. By New Year's Day, that first agent has rounded up exactly 18 investors for $1,770. In mid-February, you pay the early ones out, $2,478, in full, ahead of schedule. And that payment is the real product, not the coupons, the payout. Because every one of those 18 people walks out of room 227 with 50% in their pocket and a story in their mouth. And each satisfied customer becomes a self-appointed salesman working your streets for free. By spring, it's moving through Boston like an infection. The North End, the office blocks, the police stations, the docks. The notes start at $10 in a country where the average worker earns about $1,300 a year, a stock market for people who have never been allowed near one. A waitress can play. A teenager can play. One of them, a kid named Benjamin Brown, holds $1,200 of your notes, and half of that isn't even his. A friend snuck $600 in under Brown's name because his own family would have had the good sense to stop him. $600, the smallest money in the building, quietly starting the longest journey of any dollar in this business. By July 1st, you're taking in about $1 million a week, 500 times the Decembers that started it, 30 weeks earlier, through one office, in cash and checks carried in by hand. How many lenders? Nobody knows. You'll claim 30,219. The count that matters lands somewhere between 15 and 20,000, and the blur in that number tells you everything about the bookkeeping. Where does it go? Mostly nowhere. It piles up. You push millions into the Hanover Trust Company, and when the deposits get heavy enough, around $3 million, you buy voting control of the bank itself, so the institution holding your money answers to you. Respectable enough that the Commonwealth of Massachusetts keeps $125,000 of state funds in the same bank. You take the mansion out in Lexington, the chauffeured locomobile, the tailored suits, $100,000 of lifestyle, which is noise against these totals. Because look at the revenue side of the ledger. A map of this business has exactly one inflow line: new lenders. There is no coupon desk. There is no warehouse stacked with Spanish postage. In 8 months, the Securities Exchange Company, built on the cleanest currency trade you've ever seen, will buy no coupons at all, not a token amount, none. The money coming in is the business, and every $100 of it arrives stapled to a written promise of $150 going out. Hold that thought. Every business borrows. A factory borrows at 6% a year and buys machines that earn 8%. That's all a loan is, renting money for less than the money makes. Now hold your own product up against that. The Securities Exchange Company, for and in consideration of the sum of exactly $100, agrees to pay to the order of the bearer upon presentation of this voucher, at 90 days from date, the sum of exactly $150. At the company's office, room 227, or at any bank. Follow the 100 through the machine. It comes in over the counter, and $10 goes straight back out, the agent's commission. Stapled to the 90 you keep is a written promise to produce 150. Renting this money costs you 60% per cycle, and because you pay the 90-day notes at 45 days, always early, it's the best advertising on earth, you're paying that 60% 8 times a year. Your cost of capital works out to 400% a year on money you are not investing in anything. A factory that borrows at 6 and earns 8 is a business. A company that borrows at 400 and earns nothing is a countdown. You are always insolvent. You have been since the first note you sold, and every good day, every new line at the counter, every fresh million makes you more insolvent than the day before. The machine has exactly one way to pay yesterday's notes, today's bigger crowd. Every dollar in demands $1.60 out within 45 days, so each generation of lenders has to be met by a larger one, roughly doubling, forever, in one city with a finite number of savings accounts. December's 18 investors needed a few $100s of newcomers. July's crowd needs more than $1 million a week. Somewhere ahead of you is a specific, findable week when Boston runs out of new money, which isn't a risk of the model, it's the model. And the honest exit is bricked shut. Try to earn your way out with coupons. A coupon converts into stamps, not cash. The treaty that guarantees your margin guarantees it in postage, and no government on earth is buying millions of stamps back off you at face value. Even at the fattest margin, the best case coupon nets about 3.5 cents. So covering 1 week of July's promised interest means moving something like 40 million physical coupons across the Atlantic through post office counters built to sell them one at a time. The margin was never the flaw. The flaw is that you're trying to move an ocean with a teaspoon. Which leaves the machine's third feature, the one you built as a sales tool. The standing promise that anyone, at any time, can hand back an unmatured note and get every dollar refunded, no questions asked. That promise is why they trust you. Almost nobody takes a refund when staying in pays 50%, and the kid with the $1,200 stays in like everyone else. But it means you've wired a switch into the wall of your own building. The day confidence flickers, one loud question, one bad headline, every note you have ever written converts instantly to a 90-day liability to a crowd at a counter. July 20th is the good month, and there will not be another one. The headline comes on July 24th, and it isn't even hostile, a front-page story about the Wizard of School Street doubling Boston's money. It makes you famous overnight. Now the authorities have to look. And on July 26th, the Boston Post prints a piece of arithmetic from a financial analyst named Clarence Barron, your own math inverted. For your liabilities to be backed by coupons, tens of millions of them would have to exist against a world supply that's a rounding error. So where is the money? Barron asks. You answer the only way the machine allows. You pay. The authorities make you stop selling new notes that day, but you announce that any note, matured or not, will be honored on demand. The switch flips, the crowd comes to School Street, and for 3 days your clerks shovel money back over the counter. $572,000 on the 26th, $288,000 on the 27th, $905,000 on the 28th. You drain your accounts across New England and pipe everything into the Hanover Trust to keep the checks clearing. And it works. The line shrinks, payments dwindle to a few thousand a day. The crowd decides a man who pays like that can't be broke, and by the weekend, you have weathered a run on a company with no assets. Then your own publicity man finishes you. William McMasters, hired weeks earlier to manage the press, has seen the inside, and on the morning of August 2nd, the Post carries his story under a headline that reads, "Ponzi hopelessly insolvent," telling Boston that you are paying old lenders with new lenders' money. The run reignites, and this time it doesn't dwindle. In the days that follow, you pay out close to $2 million more while the machine eats itself from inside. One clerk prints notes under invented names and slips the stubs into the files, $250,000 gone. Other clerks fish paid notes out of the wastebasket and cash them twice, another $100,000. An employee hires a gunman from New York for $15,000 to kill the official pressing you hardest. You cancel the hit, pay a go-between $4,500 to send the shooter home, and get a signed receipt with a fake date on it, because even now, everything gets papered. By August 9th, the liquid cash is gone, and you try one last piece of engineering. 18 bank employees and hangers-on sign demand notes. $80,000 each, $1,440,000 in all, against $1.5 million of your own money the bank holds locked in time deposits. You draw about $450,000 before the bank commissioner's office calls it illegal and orders it covered. That afternoon, your account at your own bank sits overdrawn by $331,000. A lawyer for the investors files a bankruptcy petition, and roughly 500 of your checks are suddenly worth the paper they're printed on. On August 11th, the bank commissioner walks into the Hanover Trust Company, your bank with the state's money still inside, and shuts it on a one-line instruction from the governor of Massachusetts. The Hanover must be closed. On August 12th, the United States Attorney calls you downtown. The court-appointed auditor has spent weeks in your stubs, and the number is read to you. About $7 million in outstanding liabilities. You claimed $3 million in assets. The prosecutor does the last piece of arithmetic anyone will ever do for you. Then you are $4 million short. And a deputy marshal steps forward and arrests you in the name of the United States of America. The same week, a reporter in Montreal, whose telegrams you'd been secretly intercepting for days, confirms by photograph that the Wizard of School Street once served 3 years in a Canadian penitentiary for forging a check as the trusted clerk of a bank that died exactly this way, paying depositors their interest out of each other's principal. You didn't invent this machine. You worked for it once. You just scaled it. November 1st, 1920, you plead guilty to mail fraud. 5 years. That should be the end of the story. It isn't even the middle. Massachusetts is waiting when the federal time ends. The state fought Washington all the way to the Supreme Court for the right to try you too, and a second round of trials adds 7 to 9 more years under an antique phrase the statute still carries: a common and notorious thief. And here is how I know all of this, why every number in this episode has sense on it. The collapse didn't end in a newsroom. It ended in courtrooms for 9 more years because the bankruptcy trustees went hunting for the money and did something almost nobody remembers. They sued the winners. Everyone who beat the run, everyone who got their money out in those frantic August days got a demand to give it back on the grounds that a payment from a hopelessly insolvent man isn't a refund, it's a preference, money taken arithmetically from everyone still standing in line. Hundreds of suits. 6 went all the way up, and in 1924, the Supreme Court of the United States, in an opinion written by Chief Justice William Howard Taft, a former president, narrating your scheme, ruled for the trustees. There was no getting out clean, because after August 2nd, every person clawing at your counter was just a creditor racing other creditors. Among the 6 names on that case, Benjamin Brown, the teenager. The court took his $1,200 back too, and wrote 1 sentence into the law reports just for him: a minor is not exempt. That's where the smallest money in the building finally stopped traveling. Page 13 of volume 265 of the United States Reports. The claims allowed against the estate come to $4,263,652.14. Over the next 8 years, the trustees claw back enough to return roughly a third of it. The rest was never stolen so much as burned, paid out as 50% interest, 10% commissions, and the running cost of keeping a miracle looking like one. You serve the years. In 1934, the country you entered at 21 with $2.50 in your pocket deports you back to Italy with barely more. You drift. Rome, then Brazil. And on January 18, 1949, in the charity ward of a Rio de Janeiro hospital, partly paralyzed and blind in one eye, Charles Ponzi dies. He leaves $75, enough to pay for the funeral. The scheme kept everything else, including his name. So, do you still want to run the first Ponzi scheme? Then the next time somebody offers you a return that arrives faster than the explanation does, any asset, any era, ask the one question that would have saved Boston 20,000 bank accounts. Is the money being made or just being moved? Subscribe if you want the next set of books opened. This channel pays out on schedule. Thanks for watching.